Good afternoon. I'm Varvara Latyntsova, Commercial Director from Second Wind, and I'm happy to welcome you to our webinar entitled EB-5 Program Overview. First of all, thank you very much for joining our webinar. We really appreciate your time and attention to this webinar, and hope that it would be interesting and useful for you. Today, we will provide a short overview of what EB-5 is, what are the main requirements, processing times, and what is needed for achieving an EB-5 success story. Firstly, let me cover a few housekeeping items. This webinar is for informational purposes only. We do not provide any legal or investment advice on this webinar and do not offer any securities for sale. We will try to be short and cover information within 20-30 minutes to leave more time for questions and answers, if any. You may ask your questions using the button here below in the Zoom panel, and we will try to answer on some of the questions as we go, and some would be left to the end of session. A recording of this webinar would be sent to everyone who has registered for this webinar within a week time. Few words about our company. We are based in Europe, founded in 2017, and we are only company in Europe who is member of Invest in USA. This is association of professionals of EB-5 industry in US. Our main specialization is EB-5 program. It allows us to offer the great value for investors who are looking into EB-5 and want to save their time and reduce their risks as well. Myself, I've been involved in immigration for over 14 years, and during the first part of my career, I've been working on a relocation of top executive of international companies to Russia, and since 2017, my main focus has been an EB-5 program, working with individual clients who are considering immigrating to US through EB-5. My main goal is to simplify the process and provide relevant information to our clients at different stages of the process to make it easier and faster for our clients. Now, let's move to the main topic. Before we give full definition for EB-5 program, I would like to underline that EB-5 is only one of the options available for moving to the US. There are alternative options to receive a non-immigrant long-term visa to US or to receive immigrant visas, which give you a right to obtain a green card. When we talk about the difference between these two, non-immigrant visas, it's the first line, and immigrant visas is the second. Non-immigrant visas allow you to stay in US for a few years, but do not lead to US citizenship. And the idea is that once the reason for which you received the visa ends, you must return to your home country. In the table shown here, you can see there are main options to obtain long-term visa for US. The professionals who sponsored by US employer, non-immigrant visas H-1B and EB-2, EB-3 would be the best options. You may apply for visa O1 or EB-1, EB-2 national interest waiver if you possess extraordinary abilities and achievement in your professional field. If you are owner or top manager of the company, which has offices in US and outside of US, you may also consider visas L1 and EB-1C. And if none of the already mentioned visas suits you, you can use the investment visas E2 and EB-5. When you look into the options available, you can see that EB-5 required the highest amount of investment, but at the same time, it has less requirements for the applicant himself. When we talk about immigrant visa, we actually mean a green card, residence permit in US, and it has its advantages and obligations as well. Firstly, it allows you to receive a US citizenship after 5 years of residence in the US. You can live and work in any state within US, and for EB-5, you are not required to live in the same place where the project is located. You can live anywhere you choose. You are treated as US resident for banking, insurance, and investment services, which makes the huge difference in the costs and conditions for acquiring these services. Your children may apply to public universities at reduced resident rates. But at the same time, from the moment you obtain your green card, you are expected to live in US for more than 6 months in each calendar year, and you must pay US taxes based on your worldwide income. Therefore, before you are going into EB-5, we strongly recommend you to check with your tax advisors what the tax consequences would be for you once you move to US. This actually may change your idea of moving to US. Now, let's give the full definition of what EB-5 program is. The EB-5 program was established by US government in 1990, and its main goal is to attract financial capital to US economy and to create more jobs for US residents. The current level of investment is $1,050,000 US, and there is a reduced amount of $800,000 for the projects which are located in TIER. TIER, it's abbreviation which means Targeted Employment Area, and it covers rural areas with population less than 20,000 people and areas with high unemployment rate. Funds should be invested in the project, which needs to create at least 10 jobs for US residents. A single investment includes a family, main applicant, spouse, and children under age 21. There are no special requirements for investor himself, apart from demonstrating the legal source of funds and the absence of any criminal history on their background. On this slide, you can see visa statistics for EB-5. And here, it was noticing that there is an annual limit of 10,000 visas per year. And as you can see, majority of the applicants coming from China. In the last few years, there has been a drop in the numbers, which is a result of the reduced capacity and slowdown of US immigration services and consulates worldwide due to COVID and the technical termination of the program, which happened in June of 2021. At the current time, there are more than 12,000 applications pending with immigration services, and we hope they would be reviewed within the shortest time. One of the most important questions in the EB-5 program is where the investment should be made. The EB-5 program provides two options. Firstly, it can be a direct business, which can be newly opened company, franchise, or already existing business. The main requirement that your investment should create 10 new jobs in this legal entity. The second option is investing in the regional center project. The amount for investing in both options is the same, is $1,050,000 or $800,000, and depends on the location where the project is. The job creation requirement is the same as well. The project should create 10 jobs per investor. However, for regional center projects, there is a possibility to use indirect and induced jobs. This makes it much easier to achieve this requirement. It's important to mention here that since last year, any project which has more than one investor should have a regional center involved. So what's regional center? Regional center is commercial enterprise whose main purpose is attracting foreign investment in certain region. It is not governmental entity, but it requires registration with immigration services to operate and work with EB-5 program. 95% of visas issued so far issued based on regional center projects. There are many different options regarding how an EB-5 deal can be structured. But on this slide, you can see the most popular option among the largest regional centers. The process normally starts with regional center finding a suitable project for an EB-5 and agreeing on preliminary terms, interest rates, timing, and length of investment. For sponsor of the project, for the project itself, EB-5 funds is just one of alternative sources for capital to complete the project. Sorry. Once the preliminary agreement in place, the regional center starts to work on the documentation for the project and marketing materials. Once this is done, they start to promote the project worldwide, raise the capital, and after signing a final agreement with the project sponsor. Therefore, for each new project, there is a new legal entity created, new commercial enterprise, where investors are limited partners or owners of the units, depending on how the new commercial enterprise was registered. While the regional center may be a general partner, or it can be administrator or manager of new commercial enterprise. In this setup, the regional center represents and protects the interests of EB-5 investors who have invested in the project. Normally, the length of investment itself is between 5 and 7 years. Here you can see some examples of EB-5 projects offered in the past: office building, hotel, multifamily housing. By legislation, there is no restrictions in which industry EB-5 funds are invested, but in the majority of cases, EB-5 projects are real estate projects. Therefore, the risks connected to EB-5 projects are similar to ones which are equal risks of investing in commercial real estate projects. Now, let's look into how EB-5 immigration process looks like. Firstly, you need to prepare the personal documents and the project documentation. Normally, the personal documents are prepared together with an immigration attorney, and the project documentation prepared by regional center if you invest in the regional center project, or it's prepared by your immigration lawyer, economists, and business plan writers before you apply for EB-5. Ideally, you should invest all required amount before you apply for EB-5. First application, petition 526, is a statement by investors that the funds invested in the project, and this project will create at least 10 jobs per each investor. USCIS Immigration Services reviews the application for a period of time between 1.5 to 4 years, and after it's approved, you will get an EB-5 visa. It may take another 3-9 months, sorry. And after arriving in the US, you and your family members will get a conditional green card. The validity of conditional green card is 2 years. Before its expiry, you need to submit a second application, petition 829, which is in effect proof that your initial promise was fulfilled and your project created 10 jobs which you initially promised. In case of the direct project, you prove it by W-2 tax forms for your employees. In case if you invest in the regional center project, then regional center provide all the required documentation. Second petition 829 can be reviewed for another 2.5 years. And as a result, you and your family members will get a permanent green card, which already can be extended without a link to the project itself, and the validity of the document itself is 10 years, while status unlimited, and you can extend this card as many times as you wish. Following the period of 5 years living in US with the green card, including the time you lived in US with a conditional green card, you may apply for US passport. Since last year, if you have an open US visa, you may apply for an adjustment of status at the moment you apply for EB-5 visa. And in this case, you may wait for approval of your first petition I-526 in US. However, this option has many little nuances, and you should carefully review it with immigration lawyer before you decide to use it. So this is how immigration process looks like. The investment process depends on the project and barrier, and here it's better to return to this previous slide. Normally, as I mentioned previously, you will get your funds back in 5-7 years from the start of the process. And what's happening, the project returns money to the newly created entity, NCE, and NCE distributes funds between investors. So what's the costs involved with EB-5 program? The main amount is $800,000 US, and the majority of the projects of regional center projects are structured in the way that they would meet all needed requirements to use this reduced amount. And if all goes well, you get your money in 5-7 years back. The additional fees include the administrative fee of regional center, which may vary from $50,000 up to $90,000 US. You may find the different names for these fees. Some regional centers call it syndicate fees, processing fees, and other options are available. But the main idea is that the fee you pay for the work which already have been done, setting up the legal entity, document preparation, management, and marketing costs involved. So the next fee, or which you should take in mind, is the immigration lawyer fee. It's vary from $20,000 up to $60,000 US for the whole process. And the amount really depends on the qualification of the lawyer, their experience, size, reputation of the firm, and so on. And the last one is governmental fees. They are paid to USCIS and consulates at different stages of the process. At the current moment, for a single investor, the governmental fees paid for the consular process is around 9,000 USD, and for family of 4, it would be just above $10,000. There is a proposed fee increase by USCIS due to be implemented this year. Currently, it's under consideration, but if they are accepted, which should happen somewhere in April or May this year, the minimum fee for the consulate process for one investor would be equal to $21,000 US. Now, let's move to the denial risk mitigation. The program is developed in such way that investors are offered no guarantee that they will receive their green card and return of their investment. There is no way to remove this risk at all. However, you may significantly reduce it. And there are two main key factors for success in EB-5 process. The first one is finding the right immigration lawyer who has experience in working with EB-5 visas. And there are lots of immigration lawyers in the US, but not so many have a real and successful track records with previous EB-5 cases. And actually not many immigration lawyers even familiar with the program. So you should be very careful when you're choosing your immigration lawyer, because correct choice will determine your success. The second key success factor is the project regional center in which you invest your funds. And again, here there are lots of regional centers in US. If you check USCIS website, you can see that there are more than 600 regional centers who has a license. But unfortunately, only a tiny number of them have actually successful track records with the projects in their past. And it's not so easy to find this tiny number of regional centers because there is no official ratings published or public information available on the past performances of the regional centers. To obtain the numbers, you have to spend quite a lot of time requesting this information directly from the regional centers and doing the quite intensive search on all regional centers which exist. Or you can work with company like our, which can save you time and at the same time reduce the risks involved. How we work? We normally start with a few free consultations to make sure that you understand the risks, processing time, your obligations and requirements. We understand the investment amount is high, and the decision to move to a new country is not an easy one, so it does require time to decide if you're ready to move forward or not. In fact, we've been in contact with some of our clients for more than a few years, answering their questions till the moment they felt comfortable to move on. But once you decided to proceed, our task is to do everything as possible to make it easier and fast for you. To start, we sign a contract which determines our scope of services. And the first part of the process is choosing an immigration lawyer. We provide you with short list of experienced EB-5 lawyers, and you can choose the one you prefer to work with. It will save you lots of time. After you have begun working with your immigration lawyer, and it's clear how long would it take to collect documents to prove your legal source of funds, we provide you an updated list of EB-5 projects from regional centers with successful track records. Once you choose the project, we set up a separate video calls with the regional centers, and sometimes it can be a live meeting with the regional centers if they travel to your location or you planning to travel to the US. And at this meeting, regional center themselves describe their projects and advantages and maybe disadvantages of the project you're looking at. After an introductory call, the regional center send you offering materials which you can review and which described all the relationship of the parties involved. It's the sponsor, new commercial enterprise, regional center, and all the part connected to investment terms of the project. After the project is chosen, contracts are signed, the investment is transferred, and the petition is submitted. By the way, everything can be done remotely. We make sure you get updates from the regional center, and at the same time keep you updated on what's happening in EB-5 and providing you details and at least some guidance or expectations on when your petition I-526 can be approved. And after you receive the approval of your 526 petition, we help you to move on further and stay by your side till the moment you get your green card and your funds back. So to start the process, you can contact us using the contact details below. You can schedule a free consultation, or you just may send any questions you have, and we will be happy to answer them. And now, let's see if we have any questions here. Okay. The first question is, can a child be an EB-5 investor? And it's a brilliant question because actually almost half of investors in EB-5 program are actually students who study in US and receiving their education already did so, and their parents ready to sponsor their application. In this case, the green card is received by student only, and parents stay outside of application and can continue to live in their home country. In this case, when a student is an EB-5 investor, then parents do a gift to student, and parents have to show their source of funds to prove that it is legal. Okay. The next question is, I can return the investment, will be there any income? That's another good question, because in EB-5, in majority of the cases, people, not in majority, but in 100% of cases, people do it for a green card. So the main purpose for investor of participating in EB-5 is to get their green card and ideally to get their funds back. Therefore, their interest paid to investors are pretty low. The big regional centers who have successful track records, their interest paid to investor vary from 0.25% to 0.5%. You can find sometimes projects with higher return, but you should carefully evaluate them. And if you see this, you should be able to evaluate the risks involved by yourself. For example, if you regularly invest in the commercial real estate project, or you may attract your separate investor advisor who can check the business plan and see why the return here is a bit on the higher end. And as always, higher returns means higher risks for investor. And if you are not able to estimate the risks, then probably you should avoid such projects. Okay, if we don't have any more questions left, I once again say thank you for your time and attention. And I hope that this webinar was short but interesting and gave you some general idea what EB-5 is. Have a good evening and see you next time. Bye.